I have never recorded with this camera before, so this is also a test of what I can do, but I want to talk to you about the Canon R8 and the RP. Currently the RP, I've had the R8. This is the Canon RP. Very cheap camera. I think I got it for $800, which is more than what I would tell you to pay for it. But I got it with the kit lens also, used from Dot Camera. That's a Cleveland company. I don't know if you know about that. I would have been probably sitting in a different spot normally, but the sun's here and this is a good spot for it. Let me see if I can move back a little bit. Okay, all right, so I don't have a microphone that I have attached to that, so kind of hard to say. But anyway, flip screen. I wanted to talk about it before, because I'm making a decision. And maybe you guys will help me make it, who knows. I'm getting rid of one of them. I'm filming on the Nikon ZFC right now. I've also owned the Nikon ZF, if you've seen me in my videos. But I like the ZFC more because it's lighter. You know, to be honest, that's the only reason. I thought the ZF is just super heavy. There's a look of it, just super heavy. But anyway, it's not about that, it's about this. So let's talk about this. So up here, right there, that's the on-off switch. Between the R8 and this, the reason that I don't like this one as much is because of that on-off switch on the left side. I know that's a thing that Canon people had to deal with before the newer round of cameras with the Digital X in it. But most of them before that had the on-off on the left side. And I just find, like, if you're walking around trying to take a picture, you can't do anything without using two hands. So it's not as quick. There's the mode dial up here. And a lot of times it lives in aperture priority. If you don't shoot in aperture priority, I suggest you do it for casual days. Now when I'm on a shoot, I'm normally manual, but I have not used this on a shoot yet. I've done some walks and stuff like that and some other personal things, but I haven't used it on a shoot yet. This other thing here is a lock. I don't use it. It's useless to me. I don't need to lock off anything. I don't think these buttons move too hard or anything. Playback button here. The trash can button, the info button. This right here, and this is something that took a second to get used to because of using an R6 II before, which is probably my favorite camera of all time. I just think that it's overkill for what I do normally. If I was making more money off of stuff, I'd probably own that. But that's one thing we're going to talk about this, and why I also might keep the Nikon instead. But there's no dial here, and most Canon cameras have a dial there. You know, the higher end ones, I should say. I do like the dial here, though. There's a control ring on all the RF lenses, and I love that, but on the RP, you can't make this aperture. I would like to make this aperture so it feels more like I'm using like a Fuji or something like that, or a Nikon lens. You can only, you can only set it to ISO, I think. and maybe white balance, but I don't know. But ISO is the only useful one, it seems like. And all the other buttons are the same on any Canon camera. The viewfinder one here, before I lie to you, isn't bad. It's pretty good. Are there better viewfinders? Yes. The screen, you're not going to be able to see this, but maybe I can give you like a look at that. You probably can't see it. It's probably not going to focus. It's probably going to keep looking for my face. But Canon screens are some of the best screens in the business. Let's talk about some of the things I don't like. Let's get those out the way first. One, the on-off switch on the side. We talked about that. Two, it's an older camera, so the sensor's just not as good. It's just not as good. I will say, for me, the menu button being over here on the left side is not fun, but something's got to be on the left side, right? But I mean, I guess eventually I wouldn't use the menu button often, but the buttons you need to use are pretty much in place except for that on-off button. But the other thing that I don't like about this camera, to be honest, with it having an older sensor, it sort of isn't good in low light compared to even newer APS-C cameras because they just got better sensor technology in it now. So the dynamic range and the low light performance is not as good. But if you are accurate with your exposure, you'll be pretty good. We also live in a day and age where you can use Adobe Lightroom to do some great denoising, either manually or with the generative AI denoising. And the other thing I don't like, these batteries. If you're familiar with the Canon world, these are probably, even the non-Canon world, these batteries are probably some of the worst batteries for battery life. I have two extras. I keep them charged up and in my bag just in case, because this camera will do something where it will lie to you and tell you got like 100% and then it'd be at 50 in the next 2 minutes, because it doesn't actually have a chip that reads the battery. So it will tell you that it's either full, half, or almost dead. Those are the options. There's nothing in between. There's not like a battery percentage. There's none of that. There's one card slot. I don't care about that because I'm not shooting weddings. The highest thing I've ever done is maybe some, I've shot some events and I've shot some prom pictures, but for me, if you have a good card in there, I don't think that matters as much. This is the flash I use with it. We can probably maybe talk about that later, but it's the Godox IT32. The reason I like this is because you can take this off. I know this is not about this, but you can take this off. And it's not going to focus, but you take the hot shoe off, and the hot shoe will be magnetic, and you can use it, you know, off camera. But you can also use this flash with other triggers that go into other cameras. Okay, so I don't like that it didn't come with cover, but I don't know if that's because this is like a used one or if the real one comes with that. Like, the price on this is not bad, but it's so close to the R8 that you should probably get the R8 unless you find one of these with a low shutter count, like I did, because the R8 is just better at focusing. There's a little bit better battery life, not by much, but a little bit. The on-off switch is in the spot that I'm talking about, but still has those really bad batteries. This R7 might even be a good option for you because it has the bigger battery and it's APS-C, and they opened their mount up to Sigma to be able to make APS-C lenses now finally. So it might be better and cheaper to do the R7 route. So the things that I like about it, the grip. I think the grip is good, especially comparing it to a ZFC, but I might do a separate comparison video just so we can talk about those things. ZFC doesn't have the grip. This has a grip, and sometimes I find myself walking around, you know, just my fingers in there, holding it down near my waist, you know, ready to take the next shot. Like I said, the screen, I like the screen. I like all of Canon's screens. I don't think they've ever made a bad screen. I don't think it's possible for them to make a bad screen. And I am someone who likes screens. Like, I have too many TVs in the house. I got, if there's something comes with the screen that, you know, like, I'm kind of a screen snob at that point. I like something bright. I like it colorful. I like it to be accurate. And this does all those things. Other thing I do like, where the play button is, so I can review my images right here, one-handed. I try not to chimp any longer, and you know, but every once in a while when you're trying to, especially when you're doing flash, you want to like look and make sure. I forgot the other thing I don't like. Yes, this is the 51.8, and yes, this is a good lens, but it's probably, I will say it's probably the best cheap 50mm lens on any system. That includes Nikon, that includes Sony. Everyone else's 50mm lens is not as good as this lens, and this lens to me is technically like a 7 out of 10. Alright? The kit lens, this is one of the best kit lenses on the market. You know, like for any company. Those are good things, right? But the bad part is if you want to step up past that 7 range, you're going to need to start paying some Canon money, and their stuff is expensive. It just came out with a 45 or something, 1.4 or 1.2 or something like that, and that's a budget one, like around $600 or whatever. But if you're just getting started, and even if you're not getting started, the difference between going between this 51.8 and going to the next thing, like a 51.4 or 1.2, is that I feel like you probably have to be a wedding photographer or a studio person that's making a nice enough money to buy Canon stuff. You can't jump in and not be spending like $3,000 if you want a good setup. And that good setup is going to get you like, you know, some 8 out of 10 quality stuff, right? But with good lighting and everything like that. But, you know, if you want to get to, you know, some really great quality images once you learn how to use a camera, because that's the problem. Well, you can't, like, these lenses that they have are still not cheaper than anybody else's stuff that has like budget lenses, like from third-party companies. And so, like, you know, there's Sigma, Tamron, and all that stuff, and you can't really get that on here, on a full-frame one at least. And so the barrier to entry is higher. But what I do love is once you do, all of their lenses are great, all of them. Focus back on me, bud. Hey, hi, focus back on me. You're not gonna focus on me? Do I have to get closer? You want me to get closer? I don't know what's going on with the focus now. Well, one less point for Nikon, I guess, huh? All right, there we go. Maybe because I wasn't in the middle enough for it. So anyway, I didn't list a lot of things that I love about it, right? But what I do love about it is it's light until you start putting some more heavy lenses on it. It's got a good grip. The display is good. Everyone talks about it not doing 4K stuff and all that. Whatever. I mean, To be honest, most people are watching their stuff on their phone nowadays, and I mean, if you're unless you're like me and watch people's stuff on a big, 80-inch TV, but like most people are watching YouTube on their phone, and I think we overly talk about pixel quality and all that stuff when we don't realize that where the people are consuming the content is smaller than what we're talking about. Like some people's screens are about the size of the screen on the back of the camera. So like we need to stop probably doing that and just worry about whether or not the images that come out are good. Canon has great images coming out of this as long as you have good lighting. And the white balance is a little bit cooler than what I would, edit my photos to, but I don't mind editing them, but even if you go in and change it, as someone who's used a lot of Fujifilm and stuff like that for the past 3 years, I just find that everyone says that Canon's colors are great. They are great for portraits. They are amazing for portraits. They make people's skin look like they actually are alive versus, I find that sometimes the true to life color is not good enough to make people not feel, once you use, once you factor in your lighting and stuff like that, and then, that kind of stuff in the exposure. Some cameras expose differently for that kind of thing. But there is something to be said about that. So for people of my skin color, I tend to look better on Fuji and Nikon cameras. Not that I look bad on the Canon, I just don't look like the skin color that I see when I look in the mirror. And so, gotta be doing a little editing there sometimes. But anyway, that's enough of that. I think that I talked about all the things that you need to know about this. I would go for an R8. I would go for an R8 over this unless you can just find this for like, body only for like maybe $400. That's a good entry. And then you're pretty much just as close as you are with an R8. It's just the R8 has better autofocus. This does not focus on my cat, but that's okay because it teaches me to zone focus or, pinpoint focus. If you want to review on all the features and specs of this, like I would go somewhere and check that out, but I'm just talking about my experience with it, and it's not a bad camera. If I would have got it 3 years ago, which is funny because I think I might have even actually thought about ordering it 3 years ago. I probably would have just stayed with this and kept going, probably, because it's that good for the price. But that was before I knew about where to research used cameras and stuff like that. But the Canon R8's better, but don't be afraid to get this. Don't be afraid to get this. All right, later. Bye.